to my kitchen. TGIF. I won't even do the other F. That show's on hold for right now because it's still sober October. And I'm actually really proud of myself, man. I almost buckled. Almost buckled. I'm so psyched on tonight's dinner that I almost screeched off the road and pulled in a little vino for tonight, because there's certain dishes where I won't say I don't enjoy them without vino, but it certainly adds. And but I held tough, man. I held tough. This weekend, one more weekend to go. Just this past Monday, I pulled all the basil, because we were looking at 37 degrees overnight. So you know what that means. Pesto time. And here's what I do. We've talked about the freezer before, and the ice cube trays, your chicken stock. It's a great tool. So I didn't have a lot this year. That's all I got. As you know, with pesto and with basil, I had a couple of nice sized plants, but by the time you whiz them down, it consolidates. But pesto, basil pesto goes a long way. You don't need a lot. It's packed with flavor, and I freeze it without the cheese. There's no Parmigiano Reggiano, no Locatelli, no Grana Padano. You make it with your basil, your olive oil, your pignoli. In this case, I used walnuts because I had them in the house, and your olive oil, and you freeze that, and then you thaw them, and you add the cheese at that point. So tonight's dinner, a little bit of pesto. And what goes great with pesto? Sure, pasta, put a little over it. Great on bruschetta, crostini, spread a little on that bread. But one of my faves, and everything's working out perfect because the potatoes. We're going to make a little gnocchi, okay? And this is perfect for this because the potato harvest is mostly in the basement, but you get a few that, you know, you nick them up with the spade or the shovel when you're digging. You get a little nick in them. So the gnocchi is perfect because we can cut that little part away, use the rest of the potato, and it's not like they're for presentation. They're going to get riced. So you use what the good part of what potatoes are left, and a little bit of flour, a little bit of egg, gnocchi. All right. So let's get started. I'm gonna put these potatoes right in the toaster oven. As they say, nothing to see here. I'll get them roasting away. Now you can boil them too, but the trick to a nice light fluffy gnocchi is to keep that liquid to a minimum. All right, it just makes them more dense. So I'm gonna bake these potatoes till they're nice and soft. They'll dry up good, and then put them through the ricer. So that part I'll do, and then we'll go over to the board and see how we assemble it all. So let me roast these up. See you at the board. All right, here's our potatoes. They're still warm. They're not too hot. That one looks a little funky. Let's get rid of that. All right. You can use a fork, but I love my old ricer. Got this from my grandma. Let's get it in here. And you're going to peel these while they're still warm. Now again, I want to repeat, most gnocchi recipes are going to have you boil these potatoes. That's traditional. I've done it many a time. It's perfectly, I mean, it's probably the real way. But I was Googling around, getting some different people's opinions, and one person was talking about roasting them so that the potato is drier and supposedly, ostensibly, will be a lighter, fluffier gnocchi. Ooh, they're hot, because it won't have the water in it to make it more dense. We're going to find out. Okay, you do want to rice them while they're still warm. So that's why I'm peeling them now like this, but man, once you get under that peel, it's hot. It's all right. No pain, no gain. That sign used to hang up in the, I think it was Connecticut High School swim, in their natatorium when we went to the away meets. It was either that or West Islip. One of the teams that kicked our butt consistently. And I always remembered that sign. No pain, no gain. That was my first meeting with that slogan. Alright, let me finish up peeling. Woo! This is hot. I don't want you guys to see me suffer on camera. I'll finish the rest of these and then we'll rice them up. Okay, let's rice these up. It's still a little warm. Got them all peeled. This is how you get nice, light. If you don't have a ricer like this, you can just kind of mash them up with a fork. Use the tines of the fork because you want to get this loose, kind of almost strandy type of thing to get those light gnocchi. Okay? Now, just like we were going to make pasta, make a little well in the middle of this. If it was pasta, this would be flour. I do have some flour. I'm kind of eyeballing. I've made these before. If you look, and again, if you look up recipes, it's going to be like 3 pounds of potatoes, a couple of cups of flour. I'm just, again, this was for me to use up what was on the counter with the potatoes. Got a nice small egg here because I'm not going to use all of it. That's the other beauty of the laying hens. You know, when you go to the market, you got your large eggs, your jumbo, your extra large. But with the birds, you'll get a small one, you'll get a large one, you get a double yolker. So you can kind of pick and choose which egg you need for which purpose. Alright, again, I'm going to kind of do this by feel and by eye. So just as though you're making pasta. Egg, flour, we don't want to forget, pinch of salt. Mix it together. Okay, as that egg starts to hold on, now some people won't even use egg, and that's kind of when you want, I think, the boiled potato. Now we're going to need a little. You know, if you have the boiled potato, it has water in it. So you don't even need egg. Alright, I can tell that's a little wet. Get a touch more flour. Okay, it's wet but not sticky. You need it a little, get all that flour worked through. And now, I mean, this wood board is fine, but let's bring it over. Oh, a little piece of potato skin, let's get that out. What the heck, I was going to go over to the marble, but we'll do it right here. Okay? So now, let's bring it out here. Like I was saying, we could do this over on the marble, but we've already made a mess here. The potato skins and everything else. So let's get a little flour on the board. And by the way, you can see back there, the only thing I have in the house now is bread flour. Normally this would be made with all-purpose. Let's see how they turn out. Just a Friday night, home from work, what's to eat kind of thing. No big plan going on here. So now you'll see, I'm going to roll this out to a nice little sort of log shape. Cut my little gnocchi. Now, here's the deal. Take a fork, right? Not that one, I'm going to get a clean one. Okay, we're going to take our fork, take one of these gnocchi, and just give it a nice spin. Alright? Get those fork tines in there. That's what's going to just roll it. Okay? That's what's going to grab that sauce. In our case, the pesto. Just take it, get a little flour there so they don't stick, and just roll it. The beauty of these is, these aren't going to be perfect like you're going to get in some, you know, frozen supermarket box. And of course, the more you do it, I haven't made them in a long time. Those Nonas, they do it so much, they can make them perfect. That's a nice one. Okay. Alright, I got a bunch to make. Ooh, I can tell though by the feel, they're going to be nice and light. Alright, so I will make the rest of these, but remember the technique. You got your dough. It's been lightly kneaded, not overworked. Roll it out into a log, about, I don't know, what is that, a half, 3/4 inch in diameter. Cut your little log pieces, your gnocchi. Just going to reiterate one or two more for you. It is a little sticky, so keep some flour on the board. And these I'll just sprinkle, the ones that are waiting. And then just do a couple more. Keep them on the flour so they don't stick. Give it a roll. Okay? Alright, I'll finish up. And I'll see you back here to make the pesto. Okay, I've got a pot of water coming up to a boil on the stove, a little bit of salt in it, but we're not making pasta, we're making gnocchi. And here, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is those couple of, used about 2 ice cubes from the tray of frozen pesto. Remember, I pulled those plants a week ago. We were looking at 37 degrees overnight. So I immediately got them. Made my pesto, fresh basil, walnuts in this case, extra virgin olive oil, salt and pepper, a little bit of garlic, whizzed it up in the food processor, and then put it in the ice cube trays and froze it, minus the cheese. Okay, the cheese does not freeze well in this case, and now I'm adding it. I thawed them out. And this is grana padano. You could use locatelli, romano, parmigiano reggiano, whatever you like. Oh yeah. I'm telling you, if you freeze it without the cheese, there's really no distinguishing it from fresh. A little more cheese. Cheese dries it out a tad, so I'll just put a couple of drops more of oil, extra virgin olive oil. That should be good, because we're going to grate some cheese on the final dish when we eat it. Perfect. I can even add a couple of grains of salt. And a little bit more black pepper. You want to taste it. Alright, I think we're good. Let's bring our pesto over to the stove. We've got our water coming up to a boil. These things cook literally in seconds. See you at the stove. Alright, here we go. Look at these beauties. They've only been sitting for a few seconds. Drop them in. Water's boiling. It's pretty much like ravioli. They're going to let us know when they're ready when they float up to the top. And when they cook, they're going to puff out a little. Okay, here they come. See them rising up? Now what you can do, I didn't make that many tonight, like I said. I was just using up my potatoes that were on the counter, the ones that did not go in the basement, because they had nicks. Hit them with the fork, hit them with the shovel. It's a great way to use them up. So I just made this little batch. There's still some in the fridge. If you're making a lot, what you can do here is do this boiling, keep an ice water bath. You don't want to freeze them raw. They're too delicate. But you can do this, drop them in an ice water bath, then drain those off gently, and you can freeze those. Try and do them like in a single layer on a sheet pan first, so they don't all stick to each other. And then freeze them in a bag or something. But why would you, I don't know. I just make another, they're so good fresh. It's such an immediate type of thing. Okay, they're floating. Literally seconds. Got my slotted spoon here. These are like clouds of potato, egg, salt, and flour. That's it. Could barely be simple. The only way it could be simpler is, as I mentioned, some people make them without the egg. Right here they are out of the water. Take a little of this pesto. Remember, the pesto is, a little bit goes a long way. It's a strong flavor. I'm not even going to use it all. Now let's bring this to the board. A little more cheese on top. Some people, you could put a little drop of butter, but I'm not going to. I just want that basil pesto. Mix them around. The heat of the gnocchi out of the water will help melt that pesto. Oh man. Woo hoo hoo, yeah. Okay, you guys, as Laura would say, these are freaking amazeballs. You have no idea how light, fluffy these things are. I was a little concerned about the bread flour, but it's a high protein, and most recipes recommend 00. So it turns out the bread flour, I think, is perfect. I rarely buy all-purpose anymore, because all I'm really doing is making breads. Potato gnocchi is one of the things you just cannot, you can't buy it packaged. You have to just make it and eat it. It's one of those foods. It just doesn't translate. It doesn't work. And the thing is, with the homegrown potatoes, the freshly laid eggs, and the just pulled basil pesto, it's one way that makes the backyard just, I don't know what else to say. I'm going to finish this. Thanks for coming in my kitchen. We'll see you for the next episode. Gnocchi.